Happy Tuesday and welcome to Together in Faith. This is Pastor Lane Nelson alongside.
Hi, I'm Pastor Joel.
And we are here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as we do, coming to you on Tuesday nights to have conversations of faith that we might look at the faiths of others, grow in our own, and have a little fun in the process. If you are out there participating in this live or after the fact, please feel free to let the world know that you are here. Say hi in the comments. As questions come up as we go about our conversations tonight, please feel free to actively jot them down, because if you have a question about something, chances are pretty good that other people do as well. This segment of Together in Faith we have titled A Servant to All. We will talk about that a little bit more, but first let's just say you, again, would be hard-pressed to find another more beautiful Tuesday in November than we have experienced today.
It was great.
Problem is, both he and I spent most of this day in meetings and or behind desks, but still, walking back and forth from car to building was just spectacular.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if it's like this wherever you are participating in this conversation this year, but the fall here has been gorgeous, and for various, probably global warming reasons, but the way moisture came as well. The leaves have been so vibrant, and they've hung on so much longer on the trees that it's just been idyllic. You know, it's just been this beautiful, picture of fall and football and all of the stuff, hot chocolate, all the stuff that comes along with that has been really kind of cool. But I have a backyard full of leaves that have not been raked because there's still trees that are waiting to drop their leaves.
I missed that. So Amy and I...
What? Oh, well, let me help you out.
Amy and I got out. We try and walk every day. We didn't get on a walk today, but our schedule's a crazy day. But yesterday we got on a walk and walked down along the Big Sioux River there, and that was lovely. Because the temperature's been warmer, right? Yeah. And so today it was kind of cooler, but as I was driving from one meeting to come back here, they were saying like it's going to be up close to 60 or maybe this weekend.
Wow.
So just be ready for another great, potentially great weekend. And so there's a few people that are saying hi online.
Oh, look at that.
Jenny Hofer says, while I am doing my workout. Well, good luck with that. I'm doing my workout too. And let's see. Reen says hi.
Hi, Reenie.
And Harriet.
Reenie's my relations.
All right, okay. Harriet and Colin say hi. Dixie,
hey.
And Colleen and Gail and
hi, Gail.
Irene, hi. Good to see you all online. So
Sharon. Oh, wonderful. Oh, it is it blows my mind that people are willing to spend a chunk of their Tuesday evenings in conversations with us. So happy to have you here, whether you're participating live or watching this after the fact, or to those of you who will be watching this in 6 months, hello from your past selves, Lane and Joel. Here we are. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I want to, again, bring up one more slide as a reminder. We have a Saturday evening worship that we have started here at Eastside Lutheran just this fall. It's only been going less than 2 months. Yeah. Less than 2 months. But the people who have been coming on Saturday night, I have been told, really find it a wonderful service. It's a little bit more relaxed. And there's something about worshiping in the evening that's different than worshiping in the morning, like on Sunday morning. And I think it's because all of the pressures of the day are already in the rearview mirror. Yep. And so you're at a place where you can be a little more focused, a little more centered, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more open to what the Spirit might be doing. Whereas on Sunday mornings, you're thinking about all of the stuff you have to do in the coming day. So if you have not been to one of our Saturday evening worships, I invite you to come check it out. There's no rule that says you can't go to both. So if you say, Sundays are my time and I will always be there Sunday, great. Try Saturday too, and then you can see how different the sermon might be from Saturday night to Sunday morning, because sometimes they're different.
So we the preacher is the one who's there at Saturday service. So we haven't ever done a Saturday service together.
No,
it's only been for 2 months, but it is interesting to note how different my mine is.
Yeah.
Somewhat with some intention, but also not. And I don't know, how do you handle that? Is that different for you between Saturday and Sunday? Is it just the feel of because it is a different feel in the evening, and so it just has a different kind of...
It does, yeah. It just naturally comes off because of time of day.
Right.
But I've also found there's differences. Sometimes there's just a new, fresh energy the first time you're leading a worship or giving a sermon on Saturday, which is great. And then there's other times where you come off and you go, that didn't work the way I thought it was. I need to change a few paragraphs here.
And which of those sermons have been that way over the last 2 months? Those are our secrets. You'll never know.
But come to both and you'll find out. Yeah.
Hey, Dick Atkins also says hi online. I think we've got most folks saying hi so far.
Dick, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday morning. We have a men's Bible study group that meets on Thursday mornings at 8 o'clock. We look at the scripture text for the week to come. We also just do a little checking in, see how people are doing in their own lives. But then we kind of focus on, okay, what are the texts speaking to us and how are they intersecting with the things we have going on in our lives? So I invite you to come and be a part of that. You just kind of show up at 8 and we're done by 9 so that people can go on and be about the rest of their day. We drink some coffee, share some stories, and do a little study. So it's a good thing. A growing group, so...
Yeah.
Gail would like to be there someday. Well, if you come up here for Saturday worship all the way from Chalmette, Louisiana, you got a place to stay. You can stay at my house so that we can get you to church, because you probably need a little churching up, Gail. Yeah.
I think maybe we just have to do on the road, Together in Faith on the road down in Chalmette. Say, I don't know.
How fun would that be?
Maybe. Right before Lent, there's a season where certain things happen down there.
Yeah.
Right before Lent.
Yeah, and we could be dressed in purple, green, and gold. Yeah.
Well, true. Yeah. That meets all of the color, the perfect color groups for our two sports fandoms.
Yes,
right?
They do, and some of the liturgical seasons.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or we could do Together in Faith live on location from the different places that people regularly tune in. So we could do it from Louisiana, we could do it from Houston, we could do it from Phoenix, we could do it from North Dakota, we could do it from Ohio.
Got it.
On and on. Wouldn't that be blast?
No, I got it. I got to reach out to my friends in Hawaii. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Yep. Yeah. Good.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Jenny is saying field trip.
Yeah, right. Good.
And Carol Thompson jumped in with hello on your beautiful Tuesday evening as well. Hey, Connie. Yes, better stop in Houston for sure, because little known fact, not many people in the world know this besides Connie and myself and everybody else who's from Houston, but the National Funeral Museum is located on the north side of Houston, and it's huge. And it's way more interesting than you would ever think it would be. And there's even an entire wing of the National Funeral Museum dedicated to the steps involved in how to properly bury a pope. So, if you find yourself in Houston and you're not watching the Astros, stop in and tour that museum. It's an interesting little tidbit. We are way off topic tonight. Way off topic.
Hey, the guy who taught me guitar, John Roth, just gave a yup, I think, to the Houston, because he's living down in Houston. So, hey, John, good to see you.
Super.
Well, we are way off topic.
Yes, we are. There's Nyla. Hi, Nyla. Nyla is staff here at Eastside. Wonderful to have you a part of this conversation, and thank you for your work. Much appreciated what you do. Okay, so it says here, Together in Faith, a servant to all. And so we better talk a little bit about what all that means, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of geared around this big event that's going to be happening here called Consecration Weekend. We now have to say Consecration Weekend instead of Consecration Sunday because we have services on Saturday. Did we mention that? And also Sunday. And that will be coming up here at Eastside on November 20th and 21st.
Yes.
So for those of you who are connected to Eastside's mailing list, hopefully this week you have already received, or you might soon be receiving, a copy of this. This would be our annual Stewardship Letter written by our Stewardship Chair, John Caesar. He writes well. He's very interesting, and so I encourage you to take the time to read this letter. It's also informative, and then he puts all kinds of creative tips and things on the back, so how you can participate as well. But that is included with 2 emphases. I think that's the correct plural. 2 emphases.
Emphasize? No, it's emphases.
The first emphasis will be talked about a little bit this week at the beginning of worship, and that is the giving of our time and talents. And so we have, by a couple of folks here at Eastside, newly created, you're going to have to like zoom in on these at home. I don't know if I can do this here.
Look at that. You're doing well.
Newly created time and talent sheets. Ways in which people can participate in the life of this congregation, because we have not only a need for finances, but really a need for people and what people can give. And I think people have a need for that, but you'll get more on that later. So that's the first one.
Good.
And then if you also will be getting one of these in your thing, and that would be a financial pledge card for what you would like to do from your personal financial giving for the year of 2022. Because not only does it take resources to run a congregation and to do all of the ministry that we're called to do as a people of God here at Eastside, there's also a spiritual need. And I learned this on internship and other places as well, that people have a need to give. My internship supervisor, Jim Shears, who may or may not be watching this, really was helpful in telling me that people have a need to give, and that's one of our roles as pastors, is providing opportunities for people to do that, whether it's of their time or their finances or what have you.
So basically, I mean, we're going to be having this in worship, but it's also going to be our theme for Together in Faith for the next 3 weeks.
3 weeks, tonight and the next 2.
So this is kind of the overview night, and then next Tuesday we're going to be talking about time and talents, those kind of things, and then we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks a little bit more about finances and how that kind of aspect of stewardship. It's all stewardship,
right?
It's all about and it really kind of culminates in the ways that in which we are grateful. And so that's where we're ending the conversation, both in worship and in our Tuesdays Together in Faith, about our gratefulness, thankfulness. That, of course, leads us into the season of Thanksgiving.
Exactly. And I love this image of stewardship. If you think of a wine steward, a steward is somebody who is called to care for somebody else's stuff. And for us as people, that would be all that we have, the God-given gifts and talents that we have, as well as, whatever it is that we have financially, is certainly not ours. We have it for a while, and we like to say that we earned it, but ultimately, no. We live in community in this creation as Christians in particular, but certainly as global citizens of the world. And so how do we take these things that we have been entrusted with and make the most use of them for the good of the world? Because as a buddy pastor friend of mine says, you can't put the hearse in reverse, and there's also no hitch on the back of the hearse to haul all your stuff with you when it's time to go to the cemetery.
True, unless you're the Harley hearse from Booms, then there is a hitch.
That's right, there is a hitch on the Harley hearse,
which
is fascinating in and of itself. John Sahlberg, if you're out there, you can say more in the comments about the Harley hearse. So thank you for that. Oh, a couple of more.
Oh yeah, there's some. People really got talkative. That's great.
Well, hi to Dorothy. Nice to have you here. Hi to Ma. How are you doing, Ma? Are you with Pa? Glad to see you. I get to see Ma and Pa on Thursday. I'm going up to North Dakota to see Lloyd and Peggy, so that'll be a blast. Yeah, Luther would be interested in the burying of a pope. That's funny. That's good. Hi to Jan. Yes. Oh my gosh, here we go. Nice to have you. Carol, also listening from Omaha. Well, that's splendid.
Yeah.
That's very nice down there. Alice, yes, beautiful evening. Good evening to you as well. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about this theme. The stewardship theme is a servant to all. And that was selected by John Caesar, our stewardship chair, in conversation with myself and the Eastside Council. And I love the verse that he picked to connect this with. It's going to be here on the top of your letter, whenever you get your letter. And for those of you who are not a part of the Eastside mailing list, but would like to participate in our stewardship process, send me a text or put a note here in the comments or a message on the Facebook. People can do that, right?
Yep.
And we would be happy to send you that material as well so that you can be a part of this life of stewardship here at Eastside. But the verse for a servant to all comes to us from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19. And Joel, would you be so free as to read that for us?
Yeah, well, it's about freedom. There it is. So, all right, so 1 Corinthians 9:19, just this one verse. For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. And it's just... the context for this verse is really, really interesting. And as Pastor Lane and I were chatting about it before coming online, we were just kind of looking at some of the various translations of this. And there's this lovely paraphrase of the Bible. It's been around for a few years, called The Message. And I thought the Message one... all right if I read this one now, too?
Yeah, please.
So we're going to start at verse 19 and go down to verse 23. So the writer of Corinthians gets into this being, trying to fit in and be present in all these different ways. And so let me read this paraphrase of 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 23. For though I am free of the demands and expectations of everyone, I have voluntarily become a servant to any and all in order to reach a wide range of people. Religious, non-religious, meticulous moralists, loose living immoralists, the defeated, the demoralized, whomever. I didn't take on their way of life. I kept my bearings in Christ, but I entered their world and tried to experience things from their point of view. I've become just about every sort of servant there is in my attempts to lead those I meet to a God-saved life. I did all this because of the message. I didn't just want to talk about it, I wanted to be in on it. And I think that's just a lovely kind of take, this idea of I wanted to be in on it. It's about participation with the life of Christ. That's, I think, what Corinthians is getting at. And that's, I think, what's kind of stewardship is about. It's about participation in the life of the community, the life of Christ in the congregation. And so I just think John just kind of hit it out of the park when he kind of chose this as our theme for these next few weeks. It's really, really great. And so that participation can look in any number of ways based on who you are and who I am in Christ. It can be about those talents and those skills that you bring, and it isn't dependent on your age or your class or your ability to give financially. That's certainly part of it, but it's about how do you participate in the life of Christ in this place at this time. I think it's great. I
agree. I think that's a beautiful way of talking about what stewardship is participating in the life of faith with other people. And Paul goes to great lengths there in that passage about how he met people where they were at.
Yep.
And Paul was one of those uniquely gifted people who I think was who God used from his place in life to do things that wouldn't have otherwise been possible with his Greek background and his Jewish background, to be able to relate to people that so many others would not be able to. But because of his varied background, he could meet people where they are at, on their level, speak to them in their language, so to speak, and then participate with them in that message. Yeah, that's just great when you think about stewardship as participating in the life of faith.
Yeah.
It's not just filling out a pledge card or filling out a time and talent sheet, which I hope you all do at both. But it's about then just living your faith with other people. And we talked about that as kind of towards the end of the sermon that we had in confirmation / Reformation worship this weekend, that God has already come to us and done the work. And we don't need to worry about earning our salvation. We don't need to worry about pleasing God. We are free, that freedom of a Christian. And Paul, again, talks to that here a little bit at the beginning of this passage. He's free to then focus on other people. And life can be so much more full, so much more meaning when we are free to stop worrying about ourselves and think first, okay, how might I meet this person where they are at with their own needs in life? Yeah, that's just beautiful. And that's the participation or living into faith. Because if we're not doing that, we're not reaping the benefits, if you will, of living in the kingdom, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. At the end of that translation. So, like, if you were to look at the more like straight translation of that passage, that verse 23, it's, I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings. But I just love this take on it, that I did all this because of the message, capital M, gospel. I didn't want to just talk about it. I wanted to be in on it. And it's just, it's great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really, really lovely take on it. So that's kind of what, just to kind of put it all together, that's what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks together in faith, and also at some temple talks before the services start on Saturdays and Sundays. And so we're going to have some guests come in and do some of those conversations with us. So, yeah.
I would be really curious to hear how you, in your context, whether you're connected directly to Eastside Lutheran or whether you're another part of another worshiping community somewhere else, to throw in the chats how you have found ways that you enjoy participating in the life of faith, or serving other people, or serving through your church, or maybe you are that lector who every other month is up there reading the lessons, or maybe you are serving in the kitchen at the church, or maybe you are taking home communion out to somebody, or maybe you are volunteering to help with various youth activities, or you're a Sunday school teacher, or you're a part of the altar guild and you're doing all of the work it takes to get a service ready, or you are that person who is the faithful usher every week, greeting people as they come in, handing them their, whatever. There's so many ways. Throw down ways in which you have found meaning in participating and being in on it. One of the things that I think pastors, our schedules can be nuts, and there's all kinds of reasons for why, blah, blah, blah. But one of the joys that we get to do in our role, at least I've found this, I don't want to speak for you, is our jobs force us to be able to do things for other people, or to be able to take time for other people. It's part of the expectation of who we are. And so there's so much more meaning, I think, that we can get from our just daily tasks, quote unquote. Seeing somebody in the hospital it's never fun to go in the hospital, whether you're a patient or a visitor.
Right.
But when you get there, you enter into those sacred spaces with people. And have those conversations that you might not other places. But really, that's our call for all of us, is to be able to enter into people in meaningful ways where they are at, having these encounters, that we might be in on this message and sharing with someone that they're loved, or that they're not alone, or that God is there for them.
So just thinking through this last week, like the ways that we as a community participated in the life of Christ. So there was about 8 of us that gathered to go to the state penitentiary to worship with Saint Dismas. That is an example of participating in the life of Christ, in the life of the community, and that is an example of time and talents, stewardship. We had the trunk or treat this last Saturday, where we had...
It was fabulous.
24 plus trunks open, all kinds of folks decorated
and the police were here with their trunk open, giving out little stickers and candy, and the kids were getting their pictures taken with the police.
A steady stream of folks coming through. We warmed up the popcorn maker and popcorn, and it was just a great couple hours of the life of Christ in our community. I was thinking about a conversation I had with one of our community members. They had been like, "Wow, I'm just so tired. I had a 13-hour day at my job earlier that week," and I was like, "Oh, that's funny, because that day where we were out at St. Dismas, and that was a 12-hour day, nonstop block of 12 hours for you and I both, because at the end of it we were both pretty exhausted. But that is like, I wanted to be in on it. Like Paul says to us, like, I didn't just want to talk about it, I wanted to be in on it. Yeah. And that's what we get to do as a community together. So it's really fun, right? So.
Yeah. It's powerful when you allow yourself to give of yourself for somebody else. Yeah. You know, it's cliche to say, but cliches are cliches for a reason. Right. You get so much more out of it yourself than whoever it is that you're trying to help in whatever the activity might be.
So part of this process over the next couple of weeks is to identify some of those things for all of us with that time and talent sheet that is in your mailbox, or it should be soon, to bring that back and to identify some of those ways in this next year where you might want to be involved in the life of Christ in this community.
There's one more passage that is near the end of that 9th chapter of 1 Corinthians that I want to read.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know what it's like in your translation. This is the NRSV here.
Yeah.
Helpful if I had my Bible open to the correct page. 9:24 to 27.
Okay.
And this is that sports metaphor, if you will. Mm-hmm. Do you not know that in a race the runners all compete, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win it. Athletes exercise self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable one. So I do not run aimlessly, nor do I box as though beating the air. But I punish my body to enslave it, so that after proclaiming to others, I myself should not be disqualified.
Yeah.
And I had a new take on that as Pastor Joel and I were having conversation earlier today that I had not necessarily thought of prior. And that's how in running the race, in doing these acts of kindness and service and meeting people where they are at, we are exercising our spiritual muscles, so to speak, that we might then be better honed to be the people God is calling us to be. And these acts of service and these acts of putting the needs of others ahead of your own gets you more toned, which we all need, toned to be and experience participation in the life of Christ. And the more you do it, the better spiritual shape. Yeah. Maybe I agree with that or not. You find yourself in, you know?
Well, it's interesting, right? So I was thinking again back to this conversation I had with one of our community members that it wasn't in focus for that earlier, but when we talk about these participating, the ways that we participate in the life of Christ, we do that practice here, but then that participation moves into our work. And so wherever our work is found, for you and I, it is found here, but for many folks, it's found at whatever job they do, and it's certainly in their families, certainly in our families, it's found outside of this place. And so that conditioning, that running the race kind of stuff that Paul is so prone to use as a metaphor, is we are conditioning for the life of Christ in other venues, like our other jobs. And so you find yourself, even at the end of an exhausting day, like 13 hours at whatever job you do, that you are more able to do that with gratitude and still that servant nature because you've been training. Because you've been in on it, right? It is really, it's good stuff. John Caesar.
Yeah, there we go. I'm excited for these next few weeks here at Eastside as we're continuing to walk through this process together. Yeah. But that being said, there are people probably ready to go and walk into the other parts of their evening, so we should bring this to a close. And we do that, of course, each night here, praying Luther's evening prayer. I give thanks to you, my heavenly Father, through Jesus Christ, your dear Son, that you have graciously protected me today. And I ask you to forgive me all my sins where I have done wrong, and graciously to protect me tonight. For into your hands I commend myself, my body, my soul, and all that is mine. Let your holy angel be with me, so that the wicked foe may have no power over me. Amen. May you have peace in your serving. May you have peace in your evening. And we look forward to when we can see you either again online or hopefully in person. Gail, the spare room is yours whenever you need it.
Yeah, John, let's come up and do a little jam session on guitar. So John Roth would have to come up from Houston. Nice. So yeah, nice. Good.
Good night and God bless.